Hi everyone, this is Jim Gillis with Win My Vote, and this video is just a quick introduction to Win My Vote, what it is, how it works. What you're looking at here is the ballot, but I'll start with a couple of PowerPoint slides here and kind of give you a feel for, again, the platform and how it works. We describe it a lot, we compare it to TurboTax, saying that when TurboTax came along, what they were doing is taking these forms that the IRS and the booklet and that type of stuff, and they're really simplifying it and helping you navigate and organize and manage your taxes. So that's what we do at Win My Vote. We just do it with the voter guide, and it's designed to help you navigate through all of the candidates and all the propositions and all the measures, organize and manage your vote. Anyone who's lived through the last 20 years in high tech knows that all sorts of industries got disrupted, right? Anything that was paper or catalog or anything like that went online and got way better, um, except for the voter guide. It's used by tens of millions of people every couple of years, and it hasn't changed in 100 years. And there's even an argument that here, this one in 2016, is actually even less than it was there in 2000 with a nice picture and some data points. So one of the things that, when we looked at this, we figured, okay, there's no money in it. That's why it's not happening. But then the more we looked into that, the bigger, that industry was. So for example, just to get into the voter guide, just to have a candidate statement and be listed there, it's for most races, it's over $1,000. In some races, it's a lot more than that. For example, in Los Angeles County, having a candidate statement for county sheriff in English is $107,000. When I first heard that, I couldn't believe it. I actually called up and they said yes. And they said, and by the way, if you want one in Spanish, it's another $107,000. Um, so again, we kind of looked at the industry. There's over 500,000 elected officials in the United States between primaries and candidates. I mean, between primary elections and general elections, we figured four candidates at least, per office, which comes up with 2 million candidates. You're talking $1,000 each. That's a $2 billion industry, and that's just for them to be in the voter guide, and that ends up being a fraction of what they plan on spending, as a candidate. As you can see here, even down at the city and the local level, they're spending over 50,000 on average, per campaign. So we decided, okay, let's do this thing. Let's make a better voter guide and sample ballot. So obviously, we figured, okay, it should be online and mobile and social. You should be able to interact and forward profiles, and then open. It should be open to the candidates and open to groups and organizations, so that they can build their own profiles and they can update them in real time. So this is what we came up with. This isn't the live site right now. This is kind of the version 2 that hasn't gone up yet. But essentially, a voter, goes up, and for free, they can sign up, and they sign up as a voter. They put their name, email address, and our zip code in there. So that zip code will place them in voting districts. Here, some of these are either or. So if your zip code, has two different districts, let's say District 5 and 7, you can click down here and it'll give you an option. And then if you're not sure, you can click this question mark and it'll give you, take you to the congressional website where you can find your district real easily, with a variety of different tools. And then same thing all the way down to school board. Here, it's optional. You can put in this information. If you can choose a party, it helps a lot because we also have the primary sample ballots as well. So you can click on here and you can see the major parties, and this will go all the way down to the minor parties. And let's say you decide, you're going to be an independent, and that's about it. And then now you have your ballot. You'll be able to see all the candidates and all the races on your upcoming ballot. You're marked here as an independent, but you can click on this and see any upcoming ballots, so you can see your primary ballot and the generals. This right here is just sharing. That looks like it's a little high on the presentation there. Sorry about that. It should be lower here. Where you're just sharing your ballot and you decide to share it on Facebook and you say, hey, check this out. You can also share candidate profiles individually, which I'll show you in a minute. Trusted sources, I'll get back to in a little bit. The information here, this is nice because you can just click on this and it'll give you all of the important dates leading up to the election, like when registration stops, when early voting starts, all those types of things, so you can kind of track those. Finding your polling place, you can click here and it'll give you nice turn-by-turn directions, which makes it real easy. You can add this to any of your online calendars so you can get reminders. And then you can just do your favorites, and you can print out your ballot as well, which I'll show you how those work in a little bit. So trusted sources are groups and organizations and individuals that you trust. You don't want everyone in the world to be advertising to you, just the groups and organizations you trust. So you do that, and let's say you go through and you select a bunch of groups and organizations, so they're part of your trusted sources. But then you also have a library down here of other groups and organizations and individuals that you can do. And these function very much like Facebook pages or Twitter accounts. So let's say if I have a friend who I really like and I admire, she's really into politics, her name's Sarah, I can search for her, and there she is. So I'll now add her to my trusted sources. So I'll be able to see her favorites if she's sharing them, as well as any of her endorsements. And I have another friend, Susan, which I can find her. And now maybe I don't want to just add her right away. Maybe she's a friend of a friend, so I want to see who she's endorsing, who she's favoriting. And it looks as if she's kind of filled out half of her ballot here. And if I want, I can click on this and I can watch a video and see what she has to say. And then I can favorite that candidate. And now my ballot has been updated. So when I go back to my ballot, you'll see that this candidate is now favorited, which is great. But let's say I change my mind. I say I want to be fair. I want to hear all the candidates. So I start clicking through the candidate profiles, and I can watch videos and hear what they have to say. And I can say, okay, I'm going to scroll down here on some issues and see what Tulsi has to say, and I really like this. This sounds great. And I can check on other endorsements. And now this will be a combination of the candidate putting endorsements, that groups and organizations and individuals that have endorsed her that she's approved. She'll list them as well as some of mine. So if I want, I can just say, show only my trusted sources, or I can open it up to see any of the ones that she's featuring. So I'm saying, okay, I'm going to hear what Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have to say, and I see Joe Rogan here. I really like him, so I click here and I can watch his endorsement. And again, this can be a 30-second endorsement, or it can be a half an hour interview, with this candidate that I can then watch and say, you know what, I'm really sure that I like this candidate. I'm going to favorite that candidate, and I'm also going to share that candidate profile with other friends so that they can go right here, see all the same things that I've just seen, and then favorite that candidate as well. So now when I go back to my ballot, I'll see her here, and then I'll also have an idea of how she's doing in the race. This is a percentage of favorites that are here on Win My Vote. So now I can go through and I can click on the other candidates, and I have some propositions that I want to review, so I click there. Keep in mind, this right here is the propositions that we did for the National Student Parent Mock Election. So these aren't the normal graphics that we would have. It would be a little bit more standard. But with this, I can say I want to learn a little bit more about Proposition 67. Click on that. I can read all the original language of the proposition, and I can go down here and see trusted sources that are voting yes on it and trusted sources that are voting no on it. And then again, with that, I can click right on here and watch the videos. And here's Sarah that I added earlier, and I can hear what she has to say about this proposition. So now I'm totally convinced that yes is the best way to go. I click on yes, and when I go back to my ballot, you'll see here it's nice and prominent. It's yes, so I can now move on to the next step. One quick thing about groups and the way that they're featured. They're featured in two ways. One, is by trusted sources, and I can show you on the live site what that would look like. So on a trusted source, they would be listed on the candidate profile. So if I click here, and the design is a little bit different. This is the old site. If I click on, endorsements that this candidate has, I can see the groups and organizations that have endorsed her. So I can click straight through and I can watch those.
She's smart. She's a hard worker. That's best choice. Is that when unions are strong, America's strong. So fight for this. If we show her that we support her and we go out and do the work.
And I can say great. And I can also see here Casey, who I really like, but he doesn't usually do political stuff.
Hillary Clinton. I will be voting for Hillary Clinton. I avoid talking politics on this channel, on this forum, because politics are divisive. There's always two sides, Republicans and Democrats. That isn't typically very active. That is young people. See, this generation, if we're all banded together, we have the power to ensure that this tax avoiding, lying.
Okay. So here now I'm going, wow, like this is great. I can hear what these guys have to say. I can see what Mark Cuban has to say. And let's say I favorite this candidate. And now when I go back to my ballot, you'll see that that candidate is favorited. So that's one way that the groups or organizations work as a trusted source. The other one is as sort of a voter guide for their own membership. So they'll have a page where you could click on their page and click straight through. And as a matter of fact, I might as well show you that as well. And it looks a little bit different again on the current site. But when I'm here listening to them, I can click straight through, and then I can see, the other issues that they support. I can see all the other groups and organizations, candidates that they've endorsed. So on this new site, it'll have a ballot like this, so I can go through and see, all of the different candidates and propositions that they're supporting or opposing. And I can click on it and say, okay, he's now favorited on my ballot. I can also click here, which is just vote like this group. Let's say I'm a real union guy and I work with them and I'm part of the board that analyzed, that evaluated all the candidates and propositions. So I'm totally sold and I just want my ballot to be like their ballot. I can do that, and that would count for all of the propositions as well. They would all, turn one way or the other. So now I'm at my ballot and I go to propositions and you can see that they're all, voted on, all selected now. But maybe I change my mind and I can always just, change it right there on my ballot. And I can go back, to the top and I can click on just favorites so that I can see that, or I can print it out. And then I can find my polling place because it's the day of the election. And I can grab my phone and see all my favorites and go vote. So, that's the idea of it. The big picture, the aim is to get money out of politics. We think that when a voter can compare candidates side by side, when they can discuss with their friends and they can source trusted sources and see what the trusted sources, are voting for and the endorsements, and they can organize and manage their vote up and down their ballot, then advertising, right, which is the real route there, right? Money's just buying advertising, will have little, if any, effect. So would love to talk with anyone interested in investing. Right now we're looking anywhere between $25,000 and $100,000 to finish everything that you've seen, and go live. And then, after that, we'll have to look at how revenue is generated. And I can be happy to talk with you about the business model, which I really haven't. And I'm wondering if there's a slide here. Anyway, the business model is that candidates pay, and that's one stream. There's a variety of streams, but I, again, would be happy to talk with you guys about that live. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.